It's not wrong to be wrong, and it's not right to be right. But here's how these patterns kind of play out in my own life, just not coincidentally, but it's all one big thing. And this is what I'm trying to tell you, that I remember writing this story before it was letters, and I can show you the pattern that plays out, that shows me that I have contacted the being that created us, even though I'm still Dan Alexander. So that's why it gets hard to try to put it into words that make sense. So I'm not a weirdo, but it's hard to explain. It goes past all the gurus and past all the mystical names and everything. But people don't want to have everything solved for them, and I get it. But look how this plays out in my life. Brittany Wright. Brat. Not right. But right spelled wrong. So she's Brat, not wrong. But she's B-R-I-T, Brit. Britain, Great Britain. The laws, the kings, all that kind of stuff. What they want done is what they want done. N-E-Y. Brittany is how she spells her name. Expressed yoke yonder. So she's going to do what she thinks is right, no matter what other people think, and she's going to think it's right. Her last name is Wright. Her middle name is Lee, which is L-E-I-G-H. Nothing wrong with how it's spelled, but she's living her life, doing what she thinks is right. Just Lee. Lee means energy. It's S-L-E-E-P is sleep. When your body is lying, P. Subject, P. Peace. Planted, P. When you sleep, and your Lee is P. Pointing down with a circle there. That's what it's doing. You can see it in the word. So anyway, at the same time, nothing wrong with how people are doing it, but they're living their life in their pattern. Now, no one's doing anything wrong, but let me tell you that people don't think I understand them. I want to break this down, and even though it seems like I'm being, I don't know how to say it best, controversial with each individual person, because I'm being controversial with my individual. Like, I'm not right for everything I've ever done, but I learned from all the things I've done, and I won't do the wrong things now. And I won't do any wrong things. And that's the thing, is I'm working on finding out exactly what that is and doing it. If along those ways I make mistakes and it's not the best proper thing, that would have been something I didn't mean to do, but something that comes along the terms of learning, because I don't want to know everything just off the top of my head, and I can know into it and deep dive, all that kind of crazy weird stuff. And I don't want to live a life of mysticism, even though I do. That's a weird thing. And trying to explain that to people is hard. I love it, but I'm also conscious, and I know how to be here now. Instead of knowing the future, I'd rather be here now and make it the future that it can be, because the present has to be acted upon for the future to become it. Of course, derp. So when people say that you don't understand them, I want to explain, even like people like Brittany's grandfather, where the name Wright came from, all this kind of stuff. Nothing wrong with any of this. I just want to point out that right spelled wrong. There are people who really believe what they believe, and he's very knowledgeable and very wise, and her grandma's very knowledgeable and very wise. She's a beauty person. He plays on computers and stuff like that, and used to deliver stuff. They're just doing whatever they wanted to do, and before that he was in the military, and he did that stuff because they thought it was right. Other people do this kind of stuff too, but they did specifically these things, and they're good people. So in them, they haven't done anything wrong. But what I want to point out is, does that make life what it is? No, and they know this, of course. But I want to break it down on things where I know that they've gone through their life. They've made interactions with the world. They've seen animals and insects. They've met new people and been new places. And they've taken it in from their location, but in their mind, their physical being, their experience. But do they go deep enough to know that not only have they done that, but do they realize that other people who haven't seen things and had them explained those same ways don't call them that, don't say it that way? So that changes a lot more than just what you think physically and mentally about it. It changes everything. And at the same time, how much do you know anybody you sit with? Like me, they don't know me. They knew I was their granddaughter's boyfriend or anything like that. It's like they don't take into consideration that if they sat with you and like, just let's take a bug, for example, a ladybug. If you hear all these things about a ladybug, but if you hold one in your hand and watch it for a while, of course it'll do some things that you would have expected to do, but it'll also do things you don't understand why it's doing until you watch it. And then you learn things about it that you didn't know before with everyone and everything. And if you don't do that with life and you shut up inside your castle or your own home or your whatever, and you go to the certain places you go every day of the week for 50 years or 30 years or whatever, and you think that's your typical life and that's what life is, and you watch stories on TV about the violence and about the whatever, and you go, the world is falling apart. Ooh. Like, you're not actually seeing that it's not. You're just watching that, and that's what's being shown to you. There's plenty of people who've lived quite a long time that somehow they got here without the world falling apart. And now they're just watching it and letting bad things happen without making the adjustments that we're supposed to make. You don't get to a certain age and say, like, I can't affect life. Our whole point in life is to affect it. And when someone like me says this, I want to get people off their asses moving. I seriously think that should affect everyone from age 5 who understands language well enough, or even 2 or 1, whatever age they start understanding conscious language. But from then till they die, they should always try to affect the future of their coming offspring, because believe it or not, it is you. You are going to be the next thing that you realize living after you, of course. You're not going to feel what your grandchildren feel, but you can imagine it. And what happens with that is, if you stay in the earth realm, I don't want to sound weird, but this is true. If you stay here, you're going to sometimes stay in that timeline or live another timeline with those kind of thoughts in mind, where nothing's ever going to work out and things are going to come to an end when you go to die, and you're going to leave something behind again. And you'll go through these kind of patterns until you understand it and do the right thing, and you move on to the next one, the next thing, the next higher mental being place. And we're going there. I'm trying to take us there, but I need people to actually cooperate and want that. I want them to want peace on earth. I want them to want love and understanding. They have to really want it, not just say it and then watch war and watch violence on TV and not contribute to changing that within their own space, and then within their own families, and then within their own communities, and then within their own states, and go on from there. And that's how it works. Vibrations and patterns and the waves of a drop and all these kind of things that the masters and senseis and even Bruce Lee say with the ripples in water and all this kind of stuff. They aren't just silly things. To the deep down depths of your soul, if you sat with yourself and thought, life is that simple. You only need to eat and stay warm. That's it. Sleep when you're tired. Eat when you're hungry. Those kind of things. That's all you really need to do. You don't need to go out and work your ass off for a paycheck. And they've enslaved your mind by making you feel that makes you worthy. And if you hear that from somebody and don't agree because you can't make the steps to change that, it's not that it's not true. It's that you don't want people to be lazy. And it doesn't mean be lazy. It means do something with the world. Don't do something that you were told to do that's not helping the world. That's toxifying the world. And if people don't see that and agree and have people enforce the law, because the law is enforcing the rules that say just go to work no matter what work is, and toxify the world, and we'll keep contributing to all these big corporations that tear up the world that have you working there because it's silly stuff that we shouldn't be doing to each other, but we do it and we make money off it, and we keep telling you that it's great, and then we say behind the scenes, all of a sudden we're going to research. That's why there's no funding for certain medical studies and scientific studies, because they don't want people to know too much of the truth, but they have certain people pumping out what they want them to know is the truth, and have them dressed up as doctors and scientists, and some of them are real and some of them are fake, and you can tell which ones are if you pay attention. It's all right in front of you. It's all right in front of you. You just have to pay attention. So I went all over the place, but at the same time, I'm just saying, with all these people, these things are happening right in my life. I have a girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, that Brittany Wright, and she thinks she's right, and she's doing what she can with the kids, and I understand that. And she totally disbelieves in God, period. So whether it's a belief system or whatever, and I can sit down and completely explain it to her, she won't listen to it. So if she won't listen to it, and the law says that she has custody and all this kind of stuff, it puts me at this little disadvantage of being this little speck named Dan Alexander on paper. And it just makes me look like nothing. And I'm not that. I can't even act like that. I can act like Dan, I understand that. But I'm not the names and records they have on paper. I'm not going to ever represent myself with money or forms of letters and words. I'll use them to communicate, but that's never going to be who I am right here, right now, ever. And people have to understand that. And if they don't, that's not my fault. That's not my disadvantage. And it shouldn't be why I get punished, because I'm beyond the fact of seeing value in fake stuff. I'm a real person. I'm the only real person I know, honestly. And it's not a bad thing. The other people are mostly real. They're trying to be, and they're trying to really understand. And they can't really be real until They know the truth deep down, and they admit it and say, I have no rulers. I rule my own life. I am in control of me every moment of every day. No one can tell me that I have to do anything, but I'm going to do something with the world to make it better. Boom. That's what you do. When you do that, you don't need anyone to tell you what to do, and they can't come tell you what to do. And if other people let them lock you in a cage, that's saying that you don't understand who is here for you and who isn't. That's what it's saying. Whether you know them or don't, whether they're your family or your ex or your dad or your son, if you care about them, you'll see that this is true. And you have to stand up for truth, or else you're just going to go through this pattern again in another life. You have to understand this and not think it's a joke. This is coming around so people can understand this now. It's not a silly thing. The books don't explain it the way that I can tell you. And you can understand it and die in peace and have a great life. And this world can change while you're in it. Right now, right here. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. You know? Not trying to be silly. But I love you and peace.